In this lesson, we're going to look at these two words, divisibility and prime. Divisibility means when one number can be divided evenly by another number. So that means there's no remainder when you divide. For example, 18 is divisible by 3 because 18 divided by 3 is exactly 6. There's no remainder when we divide. So we're going to learn a few divisibility rules that hopefully you'll find very helpful. So the first rule is that numbers that are divisible by 2 are even numbers. So if you think about the numbers that divide by 2, they would be 2, 4, 6, etc. But also 102, 578, 7,670. All of those numbers are, I'm just trying to erase that comma there and leave a space instead. All of those numbers are divisible by 2. They're all even numbers. The last digit is a 0, a 2, a 4, a 6, or an 8. So 2 divides evenly into all of those numbers. This is kind of next rule is kind of an interesting rule. If you add up, so the sum is what you get when you add up numbers. If the sum of the digits of a multi-digit number produces a number that is divisible by 3, then the original multi-digit number is divisible by 3. I'm going to just scroll up here a little bit to give some space to show you some examples. So, for instance, the number 18, if you add up the digits from that, we get 1 plus 8, which is 9. And 9 is divisible by 3, so 18 is also divisible by 3. The number 93, if I add up the numbers, I end up with 9 plus 3 equals 12. Well, we know that 3 goes evenly into 12, but even if we're not aware that 3 goes evenly into 12, we can do it again. We can go 1 plus 2 equals 3. Well, 3 for sure goes into 3, so 93 is also divisible by 3. 675. If I add up the numbers, I get 6 plus 7 plus 5, which is 18. And I can go one step further because there's 2 digits there. 1 plus 8 equals 9. So the number 675 is divisible by 3. If the ones digit is a 0 or a 5, then the number is divisible by 5. So for instance, numbers like 15 or 30 or 2005 or 2010, anything ending with a 5 or a 0 is divisible by 5, which means 5 can evenly be divided into it. The next rule is interesting. If a number is divisible by 2 and by 3, then the number is divisible by 6. So for instance, the number 672 ends with a 2, so it's even. Okay, so 2 divides evenly into it. Let's add up the digits. We've got 6 plus 7 plus 2, which gives us 15, and 3 times 5 is 15, so it's also divisible by 3, so it's also divisible by 6. So if it's an even number and it's divisible by 3, it is also divisible by 6. And the last definition is the word prime, and a prime number is a number that's only divisible by itself and 1. And we call those prime numbers. The first prime number is 2, and then the next one is 3, then 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, and there are lots more prime numbers, but they get further and further apart the further we go up. But these numbers, all of these numbers, only 1 and itself divide evenly into them. So let's take a look at this example where we have these different numbers And we're going to decide if they're divisible by 2, 3, 5, or 6, and if not, they're going to be prime numbers. So let's check for 2 first. So let's just look at the numbers and decide which of these numbers are divisible by 2. Remember, it has to be an even number, or it has to end with 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. So that means 78 and 960 are both divisible by 2. Then let's look at which numbers are divisible by 3. Remember, to do that, we add the numbers together. We add the digits together. So 7 plus 8 is 15, and 15 is divisible by 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Let's look at 33. 3 plus 3 is 6. Well, 3 goes evenly into 6, so it's divisible by 3. For 17, 1 plus 7 is 8, and 3 does not go evenly into 8, so 17 is not divisible by 3. The next one is 65. 6 plus 5 is 11. 3 does not go evenly into 11. And then 960, 9 plus 6 plus 0 is 15, and 3 does go evenly into 15, so 960 is divisible by 3. So now let's look for 5. Remember, for a number to be divisible by 5, it has to end with a 5 or a 0. Thinking of that, we can see that only the last two questions end with a 5 or a 0. So those two are divisible by 5. Question 6. If we look at the number 6 and what's divisible by, remember the rule is it has to be divisible by 2 and by 3. So if we look, we can see that 78 is divisible by 2 and 3, and 960 was divisible by 2 and 3. Now, for prime, let's just find the only numbers that haven't been checked by any of the others, and 17 is the only one that's not divisible by 2, 3, 5, or 6, and it's a prime number. And that's the end of this lesson.